Hey y'all, Derek from Distributed DBA. I've mentioned several times this concept of being a data guardian. I want to dive a little bit deeper into why I think data guardians are replacing the database administrator. You may have had some bad experiences interacting with your database administrator in the past. All you wanted to do was make a simple schema change to account for a new feature, or to understand why a request was suddenly running more slowly. And that database administrator just jumped in your face and made you feel terrible. Well, I've got a secret. That way of behaving is not acceptable, and a data guardian would not act that way. So what is a data guardian, and what are their roles? Well, a guardian is someone who both protects something as well as advocates for it so that it can interact with the world without being destroyed. So the data guardian protects the data while also helping those who need to interact with the data do so without destroying it. Data guardians work with developers, operations teams, and the business decision makers to successfully access and use the data appropriately. To do this, the data guardian must have the technical chops as an operator of databases. However, they also have to have some key non-technical skills as well. So let's take a look at those first. First and foremost, the data guardian has to have a strong appetite to learn. For one thing, technology is constantly changing, and the old ways of doing something are probably not the best ways when approaching a new project or a problem. Also, to be constantly learning requires the data guardian to be aware of what they don't know, and this allows the data guardian to put themselves in a different perspective, and to be able to better help guide other teams to work with the data better. Simply put, it's much easier for a person with a learner's mindset to not be a jerk. This is key to being able to work with other teams better. And being a good team player is another attribute of a data guardian. A person who is a jerk and unapproachable cannot provide the needed education for safe and healthy accessing of the data. They become gatekeepers and a blocker to company growth. And finally, the data guardian must be able to communicate well. If one cannot communicate well, one cannot advocate for the data. This requires both excellent written and verbal communication skills. Now for the technical chops required by the data guardian. The data guardian will want to spend their time mostly in three key areas for protecting the data: data availability, data performance, and data security. If the foundation for ensuring that the data is always available isn't set properly, then the data cannot be reliable to the business. And modifying this foundation once the data is already established can be tricky, so it's important to get most of it right from the beginning. Similarly, if accessing the data is painfully slow, the business's customers can get very frustrated, and that will hurt the business. The data guardian will want to ensure proper visibility to quickly understand changes to data performance. Finally, good security practices must be implemented by the data guardian. I would say that the data guardian would like to stay out of the spotlight as much as possible, and there's no surer way to be in the spotlight than if your data is exposed to a data breach. And often, these three areas can conflict. For instance, it's common that security and performance are complete opposites. If the data guardian needs to implement some additional auditing for security reasons, then it can be expected that accessing the data can be impacted negatively. So a data guardian must be able to balance these three areas and adjust to the demands of the business. A data guardian is an advocate for the data, helping to both protect it and educate others on how to safely use it. The data guardian must be able to learn constantly and share their knowledge for effective data use. For sure, the data guardian has the technical capacity to balance the three areas of good availability, performance, and security of the data environment. And while we may not be soft and cuddly, the data guardian cannot be a bottleneck to accessing the data like the traditional database administrator. Ultimately, a data guardian applies their expertise to remove friction to the data so that the company can use it to quickly adjust to the market.